Thank you very much for hosting me in beautiful Bordeaux. I'm very happy to be with you guys. I've read some of the questions that Tengie sent me. And I know that you also have questions, and so we can take a lot of time. We have 2 sessions, so we have time to do that. But I just wanted to say a few words as an introduction before we begin the question and answers. A few things related to what is a community. What is a community depends on the community. There are many different communities, right? And then here, whatever I will say is a community that comes together around a common project, which is to reach enlightenment for the benefit of everybody. And Bordeaux is interesting in that sense that you have multiple communities somehow. You have communities that are living together. You have a community that is, the Friends of Bordeaux, which is even broader. And then you have the Bodhipath, the Buddhist, we'd say, heart of Bordeaux. So we have different level, and then we've had throughout the years different experiences, and some of the discrepancy that came and then created a little bit of tension is that sometimes we didn't have the same intention. And I think the first thing for a community is to I'll stop that because it's endless, I'm telling you. There's always something bleeping, and we don't have to take care about this. So, community. The most important for a community is to define clearly what is its heart and a heart intention. Because to create a community, we need to bring everybody who aspire to a similar goal together. And then after that, we try to organize the living together, and that would be quite easy if we are quite clear on what is the heart, what is the mission of this community. And then after that, we can express it differently, then we have to discuss and take time to see together how we can develop, stabilize the heart intention. And so the heart intention is something that is carried by the elders. In the Buddhist community, in the Buddhist Sangha, elders are very important because they are the one who have the memory and they keep the continuity. And in the Buddhist communities, it traces back to the Buddha. And that's why we refer to this community as listeners. They've heard, they have understood, and then they pass it on. Okay, so elders are very important. Those who've been here right from the beginning and know the story, and know also all of the mistakes and everything. They have a treasure of experience, and it's worth listening. In the Buddhist community, listening is very important. I mean, in general, deep listening is important. And when you come new, the first thing you have to be is kind of a humble position, is to please tell me the story. What is the heart intention? How did you come to this heart intention? You and all the predecessors. And I agree with this, or I don't agree with this. I think this is my place, or I think it is not my place. If it's not my place, then I can create my own place somewhere. Create a community with people who have a similar interest. But if you want to join a community, first, you have to listen. What is the story of this community? And you say, that's a very interesting project. I want to be part of it. Okay, so you're part of it, and then you grow in this community. You become more and more experienced. You understand where the predecessors have been and why they have done that. You learn experience, and you learn what was good and what was mistaken, and so that enriches you. And so now progressively you can bring your input, your personality, your skills to this community, and in a communal discussion says, like, in order to develop this inner aspiration, maybe we could do something like this. What do you think? And the difficulty for the elders, because I've been an elder a lot, is not to be an older who is always saying like, "Hey, nowadays much better. No, we've done that before. It never worked." You have to welcome new energy and integrate it. But the new energy has to be also sort of like patient and respectful, respectful of the history. I mean, Bordeaux has a very long history, and then just not even the community that we know, but even the village and then, everything. So it's important to know our root, where we come from. And then what is the core intent? So the task of the elder is to be able to transmit the core intention, and to be also able to include new energy and be ready to change and not remain in a sort of very conservative old mind set. It doesn't mean that we throw everything out of the window, but it means that we are willing to see that everything is in movement. And that's a very key instruction in Buddhism. Everything is in constant change. Nothing stays. So what the Bordeaux we had known 20 years ago, or even more than that, is not Bordeaux now. I spent 25 years or more of my life in Kunderling, in the community, building this community. And I'm sure if I go back, I go back sometime, if I go back now, it's not the same place, because they have move on with reality, new people, new aspirations, but there is a solid common ground that was defined very clearly by Gendin Rinpoche. And we defined it, for example, just to give you an example, okay, of a heart intention. Is for him, this place was supposed to be in the best hermitage, where people could, monastics, obviously, both men and women, could dedicate their life to the practice, the study, and the practice of dharma, and transmit this, share it with others. So Rinpoche said, in the best case, the best outcome will be hermitage, where everybody is dividing their time between sharing the Dharma and deepening their wisdom by meditation. Best scenario. Medium scenario, it will become a monastery, where monks and nuns gather in the temple, do their rituals. As Shaman Rinpoche said, you come together and you sing. They come together and they do their rituals and they do their monastic life and so on and so forth. So for Rinpoche, it was the second choice. And then he said, the least, it becomes a village where just people come and live there, and whether they talk to their neighbor or not, they just come and live here and then just go. It's just a village. And so I always kept that in mind, that what we want to achieve is, as a community, is to create a hermitage for monastics that will study, reflect, and practice until they have realization of the Dharma from the heart, so that they can share it with other people who are interested and want to come and spend time in retreat. So that was a specific agreement with Gendin Rinpoche. Okay, and some of it is still there, but I think they have moved a little bit of more like a monastery, I think, but that's okay. That's how things happen, So that's how this center has been functioning for, 30 years, 40 years now. And that's fine. So Bordeaux has a similar heart that has been developed progressively. And it's important for the elder to share the history. And for the newcomers, it's important first to listen. And then in this framework, bring their creativity. Okay? So everybody has a responsibility. The elders should be inclusive and also keeping the heart, and try to be also not becoming all, how do you say, krufty, in German, like crusty, and remain fresh and welcome new energy, because the new energy is the future, as everything is impermanent. Some of you knew me many years ago. I had dark hair and now it's all white, and so we're all aging, and one day we'll be gone. But hopefully the community will outlive us and continue to offer what we had in the beginning intended to offer to the world. And Bordeaux has a specific mission, which is really, I've been visiting Bordeaux for a really, really long time, and I've seen a lot of it. And I think, and I've traveled a lot and I've seen a lot of places and so on, but Bordeaux has a very unique function. It's you don't have many communities like Bordeaux. I don't really, know many like this, and it's really because of the location, because of the history, because of the dedication of people. It is a unique place, and it's worthy being kept and expanded and be shared with many people. So that's the core. Once we know this and we agree with it, then we can discuss. And so one of the questions that came to me was, how do we balance on our own needs and the needs of the community? How do we find this skill? And that's a very important question, because that's really at the heart of living together. If you are sort of like inflexible and you want that your needs sort of like overwrite everything, that I need this and community should bend to my need, it will not work. Either you will destroy the community if you're powerful, or the community will spit you out like a cancerous cell. That's the reality, If you look for the community as a sort of a refuge, and you sort of silence your need, and then you're always sort of putting a pressure on your needs, it won't work. Because after a while, either you'll be angry and there will be a clash with the community, or you will become depressed, become sick, and it won't work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for the community. You see, because it's like two plants that grow together. There is a sort of a binding that has to take place, and the tree is nourished by the plant that grows on it, and the plant that grows on it is nourished by the tree. So it's the same thing. It must work both ways. You should find in this place a way to thrive, and also as you thrive, you bring more to the community. One of the reasons why I left Kundalini after so many years is that I found that I was stuck, not so much with the community, but I was stuck in myself. I didn't find any challenge. I've seen so many things and done so many things that everything new was like, yeah, done that before. Nah, not interested, you know. And I felt that actually I was a dead weight in the community, which is kind of a problem when you're supposed to be the abbot.
So,
And so I thought I was really a dead weight because I had to, and for my own need, I had to go beyond this limitation that were there. And I thought at the time that I couldn't do that while being in the community. It was just like not possible, it seemed. Maybe I could have done it, I don't know. But at this time, it seemed that was not possible. So I decided to leave and then negotiated the way, so that it won't stop. I just don't drop it and just organize, the passing the responsibility. And then I just started, fresh in another context, moving from being in a monastery to being in France to be married in America. So it's very different. And but Shamar Rinpoche's compassion hooked me and said, like, I need you, I want you in America to take care of the people there in the center. And so I came to this center with my experience of 25 years of being in charge of a community in France. And the first thing I did was to make sure that I will not take care of any administrative aspect. And that's what Shamar Rinpoche wanted anyway. And so it's a different situation. I am not an employee of the society or the corporation monastery. As Rinpoche asked me last time I saw him when he left, he said, take good care of the people. So that's what I do. But I have my own life, which I didn't have in the monastery. In the monastery, I have to give everything to the monastery. Here, I give a lot, but I also say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take some holidays now. Or, you won't see me this winter. I'll do a retreat. So I have a very different relation to the community. I know I bring to the community, I'm nurturing, and I'm also nurtured by, seeing the way people grow and cultivate their wisdom and compassion and so on. That's very rewarding. That really invite me to do and give more. But it's a different thing. So your needs, first you have to understand what is their nature. And again, as everything is relative, what are we talking about? We're talking about a Buddhist context where we are engaged on the path leading to awakening so that we can be of help for everybody, both ourselves and other people. So whatever need I have, are they needs related to this quest, or are they just expression of my neurosis and my personal desires that have nothing to do with this? They're more like a child who wants a candy and pretends it's food. So that's one way of working with my needs. I have needs and I must acknowledge them. And these needs are what actually nurtures my path. And this needs to be known, acknowledged, and nourished. And there's also in part of me, there are all the neurotic, childish needs. I think they're needs, but they're not needs, they're desires. And this I have to work them out progressively. I have to free myself from that. But this is an introspection work. It's not the task of the community. The community cannot do the job for you. You have to do your own job. So the community must be also compassionate in the sense that we understand that we all have needs that needs to be fulfilled, and we have to take care of each other so that we know and we see that everybody is thriving in the community. If we see somebody who is depressed, exhausted, grumpy all the time, then we should know that this person is in pain. and the community should come around this person and try to help this person expressing the uneasiness that he or she has, and try to find together a way to help this person do her job, her transformation. So that's the function of a community. In that sense, the community is like a mother who keep an eye on everybody, make sure everybody is healthy, everybody has what they need, but also can make the difference when the child wants broccoli, food, or candy. And being able to call this out and says like, now you're not going to have candy before lunch. You have to wait for that. I'm sorry. And of course, the kid might not be happy and so on, but here we are not dealing with kids, we're dealing with grown-ups, okay? So the grown-ups just say like, yeah, I'm kind of a childish guy now, so I have to work this out, you know? So the more the community will be compassionate and accepting, the more it will take care of everybody, and the more everybody will feel that they're really part of a loving and understanding community, and you want to give more. You know, if you to give, you give less. If you feel that you're part of something that is really an extension of your aspiration, and also something that supports and nourishes your aspiration, to give more. So you're not frustrated, you know, and you're willing to participate. So that's really the experience I have. I've seen that, you know, in monasteries it's very difficult sometimes, because if the monastery is not a little bit flexible, it becomes very much like, you know, a very austere place where everybody has to follow the rules, the vows. And it's a lot of, you can't do this, you can't do that. There's a lot of fear involved that somebody might do something terrible. And that means there's no trust. That, okay, you can screw it up, but, you know, you're learning. It's a process. So we can work it out together. If you don't have this trust, you don't trust yourself, and then you're not really giving 100% of your talent. And what happens after a while, the bright people feel totally locked down, and then they go. And what you have, you don't have any locomotive, you only have carts, people that need to be pulled along the way, you know, because they're here by default, you know. And as a friend of mine always say, his father told him, you're too smart to stay and you're too dumb to go somewhere else. So that could be the problem of a community. But if the community is loving, friendly, attentive, then everybody has opportunity to grow, express themselves, make mistake, and learn from this and change and evolve. That's the ideal community. And this is how the Buddha has designed the Sangha. If you read a little bit about the Vinaya, which is the living harmoniously together, you will find a lot of this. And a lot of this came from experience. And actually, Vinaya is quite interesting because for quite a time, there was no rules. The newcomers will come to the Buddha and said, I want to follow your teachings. And then the Buddha would just say, Ehi pasiku, come and judge by yourself. And there was no rules because it was just common sense. You know, everybody agreed that, hey, if we want to do this, listen to the Buddha and become an arahat, then of course, you know, it's kind of an enlightened community almost. And then came the 5 naughty monks. And then the 5 naughty monks, they were just doing all the stupidest things that you can imagine. And each stupid things that one of them did forced the Buddha to say, like, now you can't do that. And that became a rule. And that's why you've got all these rules in the Vinaya. It's because these 5 doofus came, and the community, of course, you know, had to take care. So I think, you know, the the healthiest the community is, the less rule you have. And you're bound by your intelligence and you're bound by your compassion. And so it's not a jail. It's just like, yeah, I can't do that. That's ridiculous. That's not friendly. That's not loving. It's useless, and so on and so forth. So that's what we learn in a community. A Buddhist community that is a community that is aiming, living together, helping each other towards enlightenment, so that we can be individually and collectively of help to the world around us. So if we belong to this community, so technically we say we are a Buddhist, we organize our life to follow this. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to start with. What is your experience? What are your questions or your remarks about this? Or any other question, if you have a question that comes, I mean.
I only can say that what you say is very important about what's going on also here. I think the same what you said about tradition which has to be kept and new power which has to be taken in. I think this is something very important for Bordeaux especially. Yeah. We know from the time, so we are very happy that Gerhard is here with us. He's the root of the whole thing.
He was there when the Buddha came.
Yeah, he was there. But also to see how this interaction which is among us, and also this, I think we have a really also respect of each other, and this wish to give, which is so very strong now here. We are many people here who stay for a long time in Bordeaux, who will stay for the whole season now at least, and if they can, even some of them longer. And I think this is wonderful to see what happens when people really give what they have without thinking always about is it enough, but at the same time to know where the limits are, and there also to say, now, as you say, I need a little moment for myself. I think we were, although you got the question, I think we worked quite well on this.
Yeah, and it's like, community is like a garden. I mean, you can't say that it's over, I've done everything, and sleep. You really have to take care. And then every day, I just water a little bit and plant new things, and, remove some things that are not working for the garden, and again, you have to be careful because, we said, oh, I have to weed the garden, I have to remove the weed. And, a friend of mine said, you know what a weed is? It's a good plant that survives through so many things. It's just its place here, and so it's, even weed are not bad. They're just like, they're not synchronized. They're not in harmony. They sing in a different key, and that's fine. But if you're in a choir and you want to sing together, there must be some sort of harmony and agreement on a key. But now, we know with permaculture that if you pull all the weeds, then your soil dies. You shouldn't over clean your garden, because over cleaning the garden, it's kind of it's a mental construction of what ideal and perfection and clean should be. Life is messy. Community is messy. That's okay. We bump into each other sometimes. This idea that everything would be in order, it's a fascist dream. Everybody will be the same. This is a dream. It doesn't happen. Well, I mean, it happened in Italy for a while, but it didn't end well. you know. So I think we have to accept that life is experimental, life is changing, life is messy, and requires our mindfulness, our love, our insight, and every day there's a little something to fix, you know. And I think you have a perfect example in the walls in Bordeaux. If you think, oh, there's one stone sticking out, it's okay, you know, I don't have to fix it. And then if you don't do that for a while, you know, then Bordeaux is in Viganella. It slides down, you know. So you have to take care of each stone, and you have to take care of each person every day. And that is called life. And this dream of a perfect, finite, well-organized thing is just a dream. I think for me, it's a nightmare, you know, because this is what I see in this world now. You know, I have really more and more difficult time with the what I call the 1/0 society. You know, everything is binary. You know, it's yes or no. And then if you say, well, it depends. No, it doesn't fit. It's what, yes or no. You know, everything must be black and white. Everything must be perfect. Everything is standardized. That's the community that the world is trying to put on us, because for profit, you must simplify and industrialize everything. And then the people must fit inside that so that they can work for profit. Like, I totally refuse this. Like, I'm out of here. I'm the weed in your 1/0 society. And I think there's this in Bordeaux. You know, if you see all the centers in Europe, you know, they're always trying to work on the monastery system. Everything is clean and fine and so on. And Bordeaux is kind of different because it's messy, but it works. It survived. You know, most centers, they survived because they had an enlightened person at the heart of their place. Okay. And Bordeaux survived because there was a community that been through struggling has been working, but keeping that alive. So it's very much for me an example, very important and very alive, you know. And we know that Bordeaux will never be like a suburban town in Germany where all the houses look the, you know, and everything, you know. You still have to mind your steps when you go somewhere in Bordeaux, or you break your neck. You know? And that's life. Life is, you know, it's an open experience, and it's wonderful. And that's what I love in Bordeaux. And at times there was some moment I said, that's too messy. I remember some decades, I said, you guys are too messy. I don't come. Work your shit together. And then when you're again together, then I come, you know. And, you know, you did your job, and then so I came back. Because that's my need. Life's too short. I don't want time cleaning your shit. You guys have to do it, you know. And you did it very well. And Bordeaux is thriving. It's really, really nice. You know, my niece who came, you remember Pauline, my niece, she came when she was maybe 12, 13, something like this. And then for her, Bordeaux is like a dream. It's like a castle in the sky. You know, she has her life. She has her girlfriend now. They're living together, growing their garden. But she always feel like, oh, I'd like to go back to Bordeaux. You know, it's kind of like, almost like for her, it's a picture of enlightenment. Because she was there when Karmapa came. And the teachings that Karmapa gave were translated at this time by Lama Luigi in Italian, because the mayor was here and so on. And there is no way she could understand what Karmapa was saying, because he spoke in English and Luigi translated in Italian. And then at some point, Karmapa says, now, want to take refuge, please come. And I see my niece, she stood up and went to Karmapa and took refuge. I've never talked to her about refuge. I never tried to brainwash her and say like, hey, you know, that would be good for you or whatever. She just felt that Karmapa was calling her. even if she didn't understand the words. She went there, get her haircut, get a new name, and I was like, or I was just like really cool. And I didn't feel that you need to explain why, you know? No, that's your life. You're 13, but you're old enough to decide. And so that's Bordeaux in her mind. And she said, like, one day I'll go back, one day I'll go back. I said, that could be a place for you to live for a while. No? Well, now she's sort of entangled in her life now, but you see, you have no idea how important is Bordeaux in the mind of many, many people. You know, I follow on sometime on Facebook, you know, like the kids of Rike, you know, like Naima and so on. Naima has white hair now. Oh my God. You know, but Bordeaux is, you know, all of these kids that are no parents. Bordeaux is important in their heart. So that's what Bordeaux gives to the world. A place to be for a while and a place to remember in your heart. And it's an inspiration. And that's what you try to bring, you know. I think for those kids who grew up free in Bordeaux, that's what they bring to their kids now when they have children. So it's great. That's a great accomplishment. That's a great accomplishment. That's what Bordeaux produced. You know, Gendar Rinpoche once, we had some tension in the retreat. And somebody said to Rinpoche, oh, maybe we should take silence vows. We shouldn't talk to each other, you know, so that we will smooth out the tensions. And Rinpoche said, no way. You talk to each other. You struggle, you argue. And then he said, you know, when you have a basket with 12 cups in it, and then you swing the basket around, it makes some noise. That's okay. That's life. Okay? So someone in our group tried to make everything silent and clean. And Rinpoche said, no way. Work with it. Work with it. That's the fuel of enlightenment. No klesha, no Buddha. No Buddha.
You talked about coming to Bordeaux. When will you come?
Next summer?
Okay. Before the 15th of August. Okay?
Well, we can put it on, you know, I write my life in the future with a pencil because I maybe need to erase it. But yeah, sure.
Would be very nice.
Okay, let's put that down. And, you know, this year I'm coming to Europe to do what I was supposed to do in 2019. Like mostly it's going to be Austria and Slovakia. And that's it, because, you know, I'm old now and I've been inactive for 2 years, so I need to start slowly. You know, I can't do the big crazy tour I did when I was. And but I will. Yeah, sure, of course. Summer next year, summer 2022.
Yes.
I mean, if we're all alive, who knows? You know, if there is no Delta Alpha Gamma variant. Or whatever variant that prevents us from traveling again, you know. Well, but that my intention is here for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm too old to come in Easter in Bordeaux. It's too cold for my old bones. Summer is fine.
Can be also too hot in the summer. For old people.
So any question, or should I pick one of those?
Maybe somebody has just to think about the question. No? You have nothing?
No. I'm in the comfortable situation that I come and go. 10 days community challenge, and then distance, come down to the comfort zone and come back. So it feels good like this.
You're wise, Gerd, because you know it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah.
It's not the same pace, and it's okay, you know, to come for a while and give and be fresh and happy to be there and enjoy being with everybody and so on. And when you begin to feel that you become like you're trapped by old thinking and you become a little bit of possessive of the place or grumpy or whatever, just go out, get a break. Go out, you know, enjoy the beach. And then come back, you know, and that's wonderful. That's if the community is organized and flexible, it's possible. You know, we take turn in you know, holding the responsibility for a while. You know, nobody should be holding responsibility every day forever. You know, that's a killer. You know, I've done that for many years. You know, when Rinpoche in what was it, in '97, he said, "You're in charge of the community," and 3 times I said, "No, no, 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 no," and he said, "Yes, yes, yes," and then he said, finally, he said, "Like, I don't care. I'm going to die. You know, I tell you to do it. Now, if you do it or if you don't do it, that's your problem. It's not mine. I'm gone. I'm out of here. Bye." And he died actually, you know, a couple of months later. And so '97, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm here forever. He never said that, but I heard it. And I thought that this is my duty for the rest of my life. Excessive. I'm very excessive. And in 2007, Karmapa visited us, and then he asked to the retreat guides and the in charge, you know, like Lama Chanchu, Kemcho, myself. First question, have you already figured out who is going to take the responsibility after you? That was his first question. And it was just like, what? You mean I don't have to do this until I die? And then I realized that was ridiculous, because of course I will die. And then what would happen? They will keep my coffin in the meditation hall, and then they will knock and say, "Soni, what do you think about this?" You know, of course I'll be gone. And so that was the beginning of my transition. Karmapa opened up my mind that Gendin Rinpoche didn't lock, but I locked it. He said, "You take care," and I added to it, "forever." And then at the end, I was in a form of depression because my needs were not fulfilled. I felt trapped. And Karmapa liberated me just by this question. "I'm going to take the job after you." And I said, "Oh, I know exactly who's going to take the job after me, believe me." And then I told them and I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm leaving. This is not negotiable. Now, the time it will take and so on. Okay, we can work it out. But you're in charge now." And they said, "No, no, no." And I said, "Yes, yes, yes. And I don't care because I'm gone." Just like Gendin Rinpoche did to me, I did to them. And then I left. You see, so no to be forced in a position forever and then become resentful because you feel trapped. So it's very good if a community is flexible enough and well organized enough that somebody can come in for a while, give, then step back for a while, you know, do something else. Because Bordeaux has a long life and we have short life. And so we have things that we would like to do, you know, like people came individually, then became couple, and then they had kids, and then the kids take them out because they need to go to school and so on and so forth. But they're still connected by heart to Bordeaux, you know, and they come back whenever they can, you know. So life takes us in different places, but it's good if the community is flexible and organized so that this is possible. that's a recipe for a long life of a community.
Yeah, it's for me. It's nice. The last part you told me. I'm not on the screen. Um, because I will leave in 3 days, and I have the responsibility over the kitchen, and it's. I feel like before, like now the last week, I feel this responsibility to leave everything very well and to explain well to everybody. But on the other side, I'm also doing it now for 3 months, and I feel also tired and have more the feeling like I'm going to go and leave it. But yeah, but actually, it's also, yeah, that I want to give this explanation to the rest all because I don't want to make it harder for them. I just want to go away and that it stays in ease. But on the other side, it's also okay that it's not always easy because they can learn also something out of it. And I don't know, but it's like something I was busy with the last weeks. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking care of the kitchen, because often it's the heart of the community. That's where everybody's frustration can be released. I remember in Bordeaux these days when you had the little breads coming, for the breakfast, the little. How do you
We don't have that anymore.
Yes,
We were not here last time.
pasta day, or whatever. Then you get the kids running up the hill, pasta, it's pasta, or pizza, and so, I mean, when you have a cook that is able to sense the emotional status of the community and balance it with food, that's an important element. In the monastery in Zen tradition, they have two key positions. One is the Roshi or Taisen, the master, the Lama, and the other one is Tenzo, is the cook. And they are equally responsible, and they're equally important. And Gendin Rinpoche, when we organized the first retreat, he said almost anybody can join and do the 3-year retreat, but we have to be very careful when we select the cook. So he was paying great attention to the cook for the retreat because that's my experience. Our cook for the 2 retreats, Jean-Luc, was fantastic. He had the flexibility. We could black market a little bit with him. At some point I felt like I wanted to read poetry. And not supposed to have all these books, and then just meditate, but I really felt I needed to read some poetry. So I asked him, like, when you go shopping, could you bring me that? And he did, and he didn't tell anybody else, and this was my secret, and so on. And I know he did this kind of thing with other people. Like Lama Tempa, American, he said, could you go to McDonald's and bring me one hamburger? And so he did that. And so the cook is really the balance in the community. It's very important. But when you have the balance, you also take a lot. Because also people are always frustrated, no matter how much you put your heart and so on. Always criticism, like, it's not like this, I don't like that. These are the, frustration that I expressed. And then they find the food as a support, So you have to be quite level-headed. And I think one of the best cooks I have seen is Andy, and because he is relaxed, he works, his food is perfect, and he really doesn't care if you don't like it. He will listen, but, he will not buy your neurosis. He's a master. He's really a master. And so you can learn a lot from someone like this. And Kato Rinpoche once said that if you come to a Buddhist center and you're looking for the true bodhisattva, go to the kitchen. That's where they are. So it's a very important position. And because it is such an important position and also very demanding in terms of energy, and there's work, and you have to keep everybody's happiness, you have to sense everybody and then keep the balance. You can't do that for a long time unless you're a master like Andy. But even Andy takes holidays, So it's very good and very important that you can express yourself and say, okay, I've done that 3 months. I feel the point where I'm not going to be efficient and happy, and then the food will not be a source of harmony. And the community must listen. That's what taking care is just listen to everybody and see like, yes, we understand. And we are going together to find a solution so that you can take a little time off. Somebody else will take the job. And whenever you feel refreshed, then you can come back. And this should apply to everything. Because there are some tasks that are very heavy. Leadership is heavy. Kitchen is heavy. Projects, all of that is very heavy. So there must be a lot of support and love, and also the possibility for people who have a heavy duty to be able to express their tiredness and not being criticized or being afraid to express their tiredness, and to be received with love and say, okay, I understand. And how can we make it easier, and how can we share the burden? Because that's how community works. We're sharing the burden. Here in the USA, we said many little hands make the heavy load easy. So that's really how community works. And it's easy and rewarding for everybody. And that's fine. Everybody wants to stay. Otherwise, everybody wants to go. You should not come to a point where you couldn't express yourself because you didn't dare to express yourself, or because you knew that nobody would listen. So that the only solution you have is either you become sick or you run away. Depends if you're introvert or extrovert. Nobody should come to that point. And the community is not doing its job if this happens. Take care of each other. We take care of each other. And that demands honesty. That requires honesty. One question comes, how to remain connected when we feel that there is a lot of rumors and, backstabbing or discussion in the back and so on and so forth, This happens in the community all the time. And, even in the Bodhicitta avatar of Shantideva, in the sharing of the merit, the 10th chapter, there is one part where he says, may the monks be not so arrogant, may the nuns stop gossiping all the time. I mean, that's in the Bodhicitta avatar, already there, So it is part of a community. And if you have a problem with somebody, the ethic is talk to their face, not to their back. And if a community is open and practicing deep listening, then you can express that you have a problem with such person's behavior. And you express it before it becomes so big because you held it back that you explode. That's the only way you communicate. You don't communicate, you just burst. So before it happens, you don't need to talk to somebody else. Why do we talk to somebody else? Because we feel that we are weak. We feel that I need to have allies and create a group so that I can push my enemy. You don't care about other people. You just want to have more people to push these people away, because you don't have the courage to look at them and say, I have a problem with the way you deal with things. So I don't know if it's me having a problem or it's really because the way you deal with things is really not correct. So let's talk together to find out. I am first and foremost, I'm interested to see if it's my problem that I project on you. That's really what I want to find first. And then secondly, if through the discussion, I come to realize that actually this is not my problem that I project on you, it's that there is something that doesn't work in the way you are dealing with other people or your function in the community. Do you sense that? Can I help you to get in touch with that? Maybe you don't see it. What do you think about it? You know, and all of this is made in a very friendly way. It's a constructive way. If we hold it back, if we hold it in, it rots, it festers. And that's why Gendun Rinpoche didn't want us to take the vow of silence during the retreat. Because he said, if you don't talk, it will rot. And at some point, it will be not tenable and will explode and destroy totally the community. So we shouldn't be afraid of a friendly exchange of view and differences. I need to understand. I need to understand myself. I need to understand yourself. I want to make sure that you see what I see. And then you can tell me why you do things in this way so that I can see what you see. You know, then this clarifies things. So, you know, don't talk to people's back, talk to their face. And that's one good thing when you take shifts in responsibility. Because, you know, oftentimes, you know, we criticize those who are in charge. You say, like, I would do it better. I would do it differently. This is not a good way to do it, so on. Then when you have to do it, you realize it's not easy. Because then everybody is criticizing you. So it's a humbling experience. You realize that, ooh, it's a hard job. And I appreciate you taking it for a while. And I'll try to make it easy for you. Be supportive. So this is part of the ethic we should cultivate. That's a personal development. You know, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it timely? Is it appropriate? Use these filters before you say anything. And if you have a problem with somebody, you don't need to talk with somebody else because they don't know. Talk directly to that person. So it requires a bit of courage and friendship, which is what keeps also the community together. You see my dog? Pende, his name is Pende, which means benefit and happiness. Pende, you're a good boy. You're a good boy. And he moves from his box under my desk to his meditation cushion here, next to the air condition when it's really hot. And then otherwise he goes in his bed in the living room or his bed outside on the porch. So he has a lot of place to meditate. And now he's laying down on the wood floor because it's cool. This dog is not stupid. Okay. Anything else you'd like to discuss? I have a last question. So if you don't have anything, we can go with that. The question is about the heart and the brain. You know, how to balance the rational part of us and the emotional part of us, and how can we work with this and we have a good balance. I think we have, because of our education, we have a tendency to be sort of like very rational. At school, we are taught to be rational. School doesn't really, unless you go to Montessori or schools like this, they don't really sort of teach you and train you to get in touch with your emotional aspect. That means the more intuitive part of your mind that senses thing without having words, really. And sometimes in community, these people are very important, but they might be really suffering because they sense that there is a disharmony, because they're very intuitive, so they can sense that something is wrong, but they cannot put a name or place or situation on this. And the rational is not helping for that. And so it's very important that we sort of like nourish both equally. In terms of Buddhist teachings, it is done through the rational aspect, it's study and reflection, contemplation. And the intuitive aspect is meditation. So that you cultivate both aspects of your brain, the right and the left, simultaneously. In terms of philosophy, we could say relative reality, absolute reality. Absolute reality cannot be described with words and concept. And so for the rational, it doesn't exist. What only exists is what can be measured, what can be named and defined. And so you're sort of hemiplegic, you're only using half of your brain. And you're not connected, or even worse than that, you suppress the other side of your brain because it's messy. Emotions are messy. The rational wants to organize things 1/0, perfect. But this doesn't represent the global reality. The reality is intuit and rational mind, what they call the intel and ratio, in European philosophy, intel and ratio. And so we need to cultivate the tool of rational thinking so that we are not carried away by mood, like according to my wife, who is a biology and science teacher, everything is chemistry. You're crazy is because you have chemistry, is disbalanced. It's all hormonal. I said, yeah, samsara can be just hormonal, okay? There's some other aspect to it. But I must come to realize that it is true that sometimes if your hormonal system is whacked out, like women, that when during the period time or the menopause, or men during the puberty and so on, you got like hormonal revolution and you cannot control yourself. I see with teenagers, they're like really strongly passionate and everything is intense and there is no middle ground. And it's really hard for them to sometimes to cope with the demands of society because it's very intense and they're carried away by the hormones. So I understand that. But we must also learn to channel this intuition. Because if you are an intuit in a community and you sense there is this balance, it hurts you directly. And you feel it like needles. And you don't know what to do. And so you sort of act crazy or you freak out or whatever. And things you're really weird. like you're woo, as we say here in the USA, you're like woo, angels and whatever, And so a little bit of rational thinking will help you to put words on some of these feelings, even though are restricted, limited, and they don't really cover the depth and the width of your emotional in the sense of intuitive actions. So we need to learn to be more in touch with this. I think by nature, I see most of the women are more in touch with this. The men have to make an effort, extra, most of the men. I mean, I don't want to be sort of like putting people in category, but I see that men can learn a lot from women in order to get in touch with their emotional, the intuitive being. And so we could benefit from each other in that sense, I mean, this has been my experience. After I've been married for 13 years, I've learned a lot on that level. And this was an very interesting experience. And then I just apply this to myself. And then sometimes I sense something is not right, but there is my mind says like, oh, you have to do it anyway, because you have to force yourself, you have to be good, you have to be serving, and so on. All these sort of, bullshit. I don't find another word for that, and so I have to learn to be just a bit more round in a sense. I've been a bit more calm, and then look at it and then sense, sense more. It's a training. It's a training like everything else. You must listen and also be able to make the difference between what is emotional in the sense of intuitive or emotional in the sense of klesha, like, oh, I want this, oh, I don't want that, I hate this, I hate that, This is just the surface agitation. So actually this sort of create a screen that prevents you from getting in touch with the deeper level. When you practice meditation, that's what we do, I mean, if you think of the mind as an ocean, then on the surface, you have a lot of waves and a lot of agitation and so on. And you ignore, because of this agitation, you ignore the depth of your mind. And then then the surface is the mental consciousness, constantly agitated. And then dealing with the sun, the wind, and so on, all the stimulations from the outer world. But you're not in touch with the peace of the abyss, the peace of the very bottom of the mind. And so with the practice of calm abiding, you learn not to be prisoner of this agitation. You don't have to flatten it out. You just learn not to be prisoner of it. You can see it and not being prisoner of it. And then as you do that, you abide calmly, and then you begin to sense, and that's very intuitive. You begin to sense how deep your mind is, how vast your mind is. And then you abide in this, and you're coming deeper and deeper. And then you begin to see the very deep structural movement that sort of come to the surface and create the waves, the old habit. And then you let them go. And then even the idea of a meditator and a meditation is seen as just this kind of habit, and then you let that go. And then finally, you are the entirety of the ocean, from the bottom to the surface, and there is no obstruction. So the first level of meditation is analytical, and that's the rational. But very quickly, the true experience is intuitive, it's experiential, and cannot be described or captured by words and concept. Words and concept about meditation, even the very thick books about it, they are not talking about the experience. They're just sort of talking around the experience, suggesting something, and sometimes misleading. So I think a good way to come to balance this ratio and intel, the rational and intuitive mind, can be done through the practice of meditation. And you can really see how both can work together. Study and reflection are very important. They bring you to a point of certainty and peace. You can abide there and make the experience of diving deeply and deeply into your mind until everything is known. but not as an outer object that you can name and publish, as something which is ineffable, inconceivable. That's what the mother Prajnaparamita is, the perfection of wisdom of emptiness is ineffable, inconceivable, yet self-illuminating and self-liberating. So that would be the utmost accomplishment in the field of intuition. And so meditation can really help with that, all the aspects.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think we covered some ground in an hour and a half. Well, maybe not an hour and a half, because we had a lot of technical things, which were entirely my bad. So I'm really sorry about that. But I learned a lot. And thank you for being patient with my not knowing how to use YouTube. And so it will be easier next time.
Yeah, we'll be also there 10 minutes before next time.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Okay, thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of your day. And then we meet again on August 8th, same time. And we'll be in Vienna this time, so I'll be closer. Almost there. I'll be in Vienna, in Mauerbach, with my good friends Tule and Gunhild. They're in a lovely house there outside. And so think about things you'd like to discuss, and Tengier, you can collect them if you want and then send that to me, so I have time to think about it. Or anything that comes spontaneously is also very good, so we can do that. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you very much, Lama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye, Elia. And
Bye.
bye to all the YouTubers if you have been following. And it will also be as it is on YouTube. I will edit it a little bit, and it will be available. So you can go on my channel, YouTube Lamatsoni, and then you will find this exchange available for replay. Okay.
Yes.
Until next time, take care for now.